My name is Brittany. This is the Brittany React Show. And on this show, we talk all things entertainment and movie news. We have another long stream for you today, so make sure that you're well rested. You got what you need. Probably a drink. I have some orange juice here. So please, we have a lot to go over. As I was like going through the news of what we were going to talk about today, I was like, oh wow, we're going to talk about this, we got to talk about this. And then I forgot last time we had a live stream was right before the Oscars. So we also have the Oscars to review. So yeah, this is going to be probably another 2 hour stream. Just fair warning. But thank you all for being here again. Thank you for being flexible with my schedule and being here on a Sunday. I probably won't be on. Okay, so my last show is actually next Sunday. So I won't be able to do a live stream next Sunday, but it'll probably be on like Monday or Tuesday. But after that, because my show will finally be done, I'll finally have time to like spend more time on the channel, which I'm really happy about. So the live streams will after next Sunday go back to being like regularly on Sunday, and I'm gonna try to also do some more videos and stuff too. So get ready for that. But how are you guys doing today? Hi Madonna, hi DeBoy, hi Ahsoka, hi Stephanie, hi Jojo, hi Movie Freak, hi Fake Mustache, hi Burning Daylighter, hi Paris, hi Aaron, hi Dania, hi Ethereal Dragon, hi Prototype, hi Candace. Thank you to each and every one of you. I appreciate you guys being here, and I love talking to you guys so much. So I'm just glad that you're here. So like I said, we actually hi Evil Connor. Like I said, we actually really do have a lot to go over. So let's just go straight into the box office news. All right. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was give you an update on how Captain America Brave New World is doing. So if you guys remember, Marvel slash the trades kind of put out this 425 number as the break even point. I've been telling you how I don't believe that at all. I think that's all spin to try to, make this movie look as good as possible. But even with that 425 break even number, so far, Captain America Brave New World has only crossed about $370 million worldwide in 24 days. That's not good. That's really not good. And Rob Liefeld, if you guys are not familiar with him, he's the same person who is, I think he's calling for Kevin Feige to step down. And he's really prominent in Marvel. I believe he's one of the creators of Deadpool. So this is not like just some random nobody, by the way. So like this is really bad just from like a PR perspective for Marvel, but also it just really shows you that, as he said, the mighty has fallen. I mean, Marvel used to make $425 million in like maybe 2 weeks, a week even. I mean, heck, Avengers Endgame, which I know not every movie needs to perform like Avengers Endgame, but just to give you some perspective here, Avengers Endgame, it made like $1.2 billion in its first opening weekend. To now, it can't even cross 400 million within 24 days. There's still 55 million from their make-believe break-even point. That's really embarrassing. That shows you that this genre, this studio, is really struggling. And they really desperately need Thunderbolts and for the Fantastic Four to do a lot better. Because if they have every single one of those movies underperform, this will be a very bad year for Marvel. Extremely bad. And I think more and more people will start saying that maybe it's time for Kevin Feige to step down. Rob is leading the charge here, but I honestly think he might have a point. I think he might have a point as much as Kevin has done, and I think he has made some really great movies and has done a lot of great things for the genre. I do think that there is such a thing as like staying in a role for too long that you lose perspective on things and you lose a bit of your touch, and I think that has definitely happened with Kevin. I think that's happened with Bob Iger as well, to be fair. I used to love Bob Iger. I don't think he's good for the role anymore, or the job. We'll talk about some things that Disney's doing later, but yeah, this is really embarrassing. This is not good. You can't spin this as a positive. I see so many trades, so many so much copium online of people being like, "Oh, you guys are just being mean. This total isn't that bad." And it's like, this is a Captain America movie. Captain America is supposed to be like one of their A plus characters, and it can't do better than this. This is as Rob says, the mighty has indeed fallen. But what do you guys think about Captain America's box office? Are you surprised that it still hasn't reached their fake break even number? And I say fake because I know for sure. In fact, there are rumors and reports that allegedly that $180 million budget number that's been thrown around was only the number for the reshoots. That's how much the reshoots cost, not even the initial budget, which is crazy, which means that that movie likely cost like over $300 million, likely. But they won't say that because it's going to make the movie look even worse. That's why I keep saying this is a fake break-even number. But they can't even make the fake break-even number, which is just really, really embarrassing. But how are you guys feeling about all of this? Um, Jojo says, I feel a few things have been way overhyped nowadays. Like what? Are you saying Marvel's overhyped? I think you could have said that like 5, 6, 7 years ago, but I don't think today you can say that. Stephanie says, I'm not surprised. The movie was horrible. Yeah, it wasn't great. If you saw my review, I could not say really kind things about it. Aaron says Marvel needs to focus on creating projects that feature Marvel characters but are in the same vein as WandaVision and Agatha all along. Oh, I would love that. I really would. However, I also, as much as I love both of those properties, and I'm squarely in the target audience for that, I also wonder if like I don't think that's something that they need to like lean into across the board because I do think that appeals to a niche audience. Now that audience is very loyal. They definitely tweet about those shows a lot more than like their main audience. And I say that because Daredevil also just aired and it didn't get like half the attention online that Agatha did. We'll see how like the ratings are. But I do think that like I don't, as much as I love those properties, I do think they're like probably too niche to rely on across the board. But I would love if we did get more like Wanda and stuff. Naomi says you don't care for the MCU anymore. Jojo says I haven't seen Brave New World, so I don't really have an opinion. That's fine. Nicholas says to be fair, if you gave me 300 million, I'd have a go at making a movie. Well, the thing is, I don't think they initially meant for it to cost that much. It ended up costing that much after all the reshoots. They don't want you to know that, but that's the truth. So that's why this is just really embarrassing in general, and I will continue updating on how this does and if it even crosses that imaginary break-even number, because I think that's actually in doubt at this point. So let's move on to Mickey 17, which I have to say, I just saw. I don't know if you guys watched my short. I made a like out of theater review, and I really really liked this movie. I liked it a lot actually. I think it's one of Robert Pattinson's best performances. He plays two different characters in the movie. If you don't know what it's about he plays like clones. So it takes place in the future where like humankind has the ability to print bodies and like print whole people and like implant the memories of your past self. So it's like you're basically just born again. And so his name is Mickey, and on his 17th death, basically, or he's supposed to die on his 17th death, but he didn't. And so they reprinted him again for his 18th self, but his 17th self still lived. So now there's like multiples of them, but multiples are illegal in this universe. So like hijinks ensues, and there's a lot more that goes into it. I'm not going to spoil anything. That's just the general premise of it. I actually really liked this movie, but I like Bong Joon-ho movies. I loved Parasite. As you guys, I've told you guys multiple times, Snowpiercer is one of my all-time favorite movies. I kind of like Okja. It was okay. I feel like Okja is my least favorite Bong Joon-ho movie. But Mickey 17, I was really excited for it because I love Bong Joon-ho. I love Robert Pattinson. I love sci-fi. So it was combining all the things that I love into one movie. So I was like really excited for it. And it didn't disappoint. I genuinely loved it. I've been talking about how I want something truly original, something truly interesting, something I haven't seen before. And boy, was this movie super original and something I haven't seen before. If you like sci-fi, if you like Robert Pattinson, if you're willing to go on a whimsical journey where like anything could happen and you cannot predict at all how it's going to end, I would recommend this movie. It's not going to be for everyone because it is kind of like a wacky kind of movie, but it genuinely is a really, really good film. I thought Naomi Aki was fantastic in it. I thought everyone acted their butts off. Even Mark Ruffalo, who I've seen get some flack online, but like he was obviously told to play a larger than life character, and I thought he nailed it. I liked his performance. There is some political allegories to like Trump and stuff. There's even like a scene in the beginning where like a bunch of supporters of this billionaire guy have like red hats and stuff like that. So if that will bother you, you probably won't like this movie. But if I honestly thought it was done tastefully and like it didn't bother me at all. So I really liked it. I highly recommend this movie. I don't recommend a lot of movies these days, as you guys have seen, because a lot of movies coming out are just genuinely not that good. But this one, I actually think was really, really good, and I solidly recommend this movie. Has anyone seen Mickey 17? Is anyone even interested? Okay, Bounty Clouds is interested. Okay. Du Bois says, would you say it's a good movie for folks who haven't seen any Bong Joon-ho movies? Yes, because it's not like a sequel where you need to have seen something else. But I will say it is weird and wacky. He has a very specific kind of tone, a very specific kind of style. It may not be for everyone. So if this is your first Bong Joon-ho movie, this will be like you're being thrown into the deep end in all his like weird and wackiness. So I hope you like it, but I'm just giving you a lot of warning because you kind of have to like his style to like this movie, to be honest. Seeing a lot of people haven't seen it. Alice is going to see it tonight. Well, I hope you like it. Ashley, okay, you loved it. I'm glad. I feel like this movie actually is getting a lot of positive buzz. Some people don't get it. Like, I feel like the critics don't get it. But I actually think audiences are liking this movie more than critics. And the reason why I say that is because this actually got a B cinema score, which I think you should grade Bong Joon-ho movies on like a horror movie curve, in the sense that like they're so unique and stylized that they're just not going to appeal to everyone, just like horror movies are not going to appeal to everyone. And if you guys don't understand why I'm saying horror movies, it's because usually with horror movies, they get lower cinema scores than other ones. So you kind of grade them based on like, oh, if like a horror movie got a B cinema score, that would actually mean the movie's like really, really good. Even though a B cinema score for like a Marvel movie would be really, really bad. This is why I say for this, a B cinema score is actually really, really good. I think for how weird and out of the box this is, I think this is practically an A cinema score. So I think audiences are really into it. I think critics are more divided, but I've been seeing a lot more positive buzz from people, and I saw it with a friend, and she really loved it too. And she's not like a huge cinemaphile. She hasn't seen other Bong Joon-ho movies, but she really liked it. So I hope this does better, because unfortunately it did only open to 19.1 million domestically, and it had, oh, sorry. It had a crazy budget of $118 million. $118 million. So that's a very steep budget for that kind of opening. I do hope that it has legs. We'll see if maybe the good word of mouth, or what the word of mouth even is in the second weekend. I'm hoping it holds strong. But unfortunately, because this opening is so low, even if it does hold strong, I don't think it's going to break even. But regardless of that, I still think 19.1 million for a wholly original movie that's this weird and wacky, I think actually points to the strength of Bong Joon-ho's brand and Robert Pattinson's star power. Because I don't think there's many actors who could have gotten this close to 20 million opening. Maybe Timothée Chalamet, maybe like Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't know, but it would have to be like that caliber of actor to get this movie to be this kind of a success. So I even though I wish this was better, I still think this is like not terrible for this kind of movie. Honestly, if the budget was cheaper, I would say this is actually pretty good. It's just the fact that this budget's so high that kind of makes this opening not great. But overall, again, really, really, really loved the movie. Can't recommend it enough. I do hope more of you go and see it because I would love a Mickey 2, Mickey 17 too. I don't think they would make it, but honestly, I just really liked it. And I don't see many movies in theaters as much these days that I'm like, oh, I really loved it. So that's why I think, like, it's actually stuck with me. Like, I saw it 2 days ago now, and every now and then, like, I think about a scene or, like, I don't know, it's just a vibe. Like, the whole movie takes place, well, most of the movie takes place on this, like, planet station, like, because they're in space. It's a weird movie. But, like, I really felt like I was in that station with them. Like, I felt like I was in that environment with them. Like, it's a very immersive film as well, which is why I really liked it. But yeah, I could keep going on about this movie. We have other things to talk about. But again, I really like Mickey 17. You guys should go see it. Abel Connor says, can I get just one movie with some color and light, please? Well, I actually like the way this movie looks. It's not a colorful movie, but the location is not meant to be. I don't think that this movie looked bad. I actually think the visuals in this were pretty solid. Paris, yeah, you agree. It's the first movie in a while to stick with me. Same here. I haven't had a movie stick with me like this in a while, so that's how I know I like it. Definitely highlight of the year so far, but to be fair, the bar is extremely low. There hasn't been much coming out, and the stuff that has come out has not been very good. So the bar is very low. But anyway, let's move on because I've spent too much time raving about this. So let's talk about the Oscars. As I said, the Oscars were last Sunday, right before our last stream. So I didn't get to talk about like who actually won and stuff. But Anora was the big winner of the night. Anora won 5 awards. It won Best Editing, Best Picture, Best Actress, Best Director, and Best Screenplay. So honestly, I called Best Picture about halfway through the Oscars. After it got Screenplay and Editing, I was like, oh, it's a wrap. Anora's winning. And sure enough, it definitely did win. Now, I don't know if you guys, how many of you follow my Twitter account, but I've been tweeting a lot more lately, so you guys should definitely follow me and my hot takes. But I tweeted my kind of mini review of Anora and its take on sex work and all of that, because it became, honestly, after Anora won, it became the topic of a lot of controversy. Like, people on the left had a problem with this movie, people on the right had a problem with this movie, rich people had a problem with this movie, poor people, people in the industry, people not in the industry, like, everyone kind of had, like, their own hot take on this film from their own perspective, which I found to be really interesting. So here's my hot take on this perspective, on this movie. Overall, I actually did really like Anora. I thought it was entertaining. I thought, other than Wicked, it was my favorite out of the top, like, Best Picture nominees. I liked Anora even more than Dune Part 2. And you guys know how much I love the Dune movies. So that just shows you, I actually really did like Anora. However, one of the biggest controversies of the night was the fact that when Mikey Madison won for Best Actress, she went up on stage and thanked sex work and said that she supported sex work and all of that. And some people were like, why would you say that? That's weird. That's odd. So I decided to throw in my 2 cents on how I feel about it. And so this is what I said. Some of you may disagree, but this is my personal opinion, and you come here for my personal opinion, so this is what I'm about to say. So overall, I don't support sex work. I don't even like the phrase sex work. I feel like it's a rosy euphemism for prostitution, and prostitution has a lot of, like, real issues that we shouldn't just glaze over for, oh yeah, girl boss, go, sell your body, and it's so empowering. I don't see it as empowering. Mikey Madison just won an Oscar. She wouldn't go into sex work now because why would she need to? You only do that if you really need money. So I don't see it as empowering. I see it as, like, exploitation. However, the reason why I still liked Anora is because I don't think that the movie was actually very positive towards prostitution. Like, By the end of the movie, Anora was like sad. She was depressed. She didn't even like herself or her job. She was depressed. She didn't want to go back to do her old life. Like, there's a lot of hot takes from people on the left that were like, oh, this movie glorifies sex work. And I'm like, did we watch the same movie? Because I don't think it did. I really don't. I really think it. In fact, there was another article that came out. I forgot from what platform, but it was actually an op-ed from some actual like prostitutes who work in the industry who were like, we don't like this movie. We think this movie is actually really bad representation for us. So that's another hot take from a whole different perspective on this movie. Like I said, everyone had an issue with this film, but from like different viewpoints. But that's the sex worker viewpoint. So even other sex workers are like, this movie is not very positive towards us. Why are you guys saying this is like celebrating? So that's kind of why I was still interested in the movie, because I didn't feel like it was glorifying. I thought it was being real. I thought it could have been even more real, but like I didn't think it was like celebrating it in the sense that some people do. Even I think Mikey Madison herself thinks it's more positive than it actually is. But anyway, other than that, I thought Mikey Madison's performance was actually fantastic. I thought she was amazing. I thought after seeing the movie, I thought she did have the best performance of the year. I kept thinking Cynthia Erivo had the best performance, but after seeing Anora, I actually do think Mikey Madison had the best performance. So in that vein, I was really happy that she won. In fact, I was extremely happy that she won because I thought she was deserving. However, a lot of Demi Moore fans, a lot of Substance fans were very, very upset because they were cheering for Demi Moore. And that's totally fine to be like upset that the person you were cheering for didn't win. That's normal. However, the hot takes I've been seeing have been so dumb and asinine and just weird, because it's like, not only were people like upset that she lost, it's almost like people felt like she was like robbed, like she was owed that Oscar. And I'm like, first of all, no one is owed an Oscar. Anyone can win. Second of all, people were saying that like this is ageism in Hollywood. Oh, this is just the plot of The Substance, but in real life. And I'm like, no, it's not. Only 3 people in history who are born in the 90s have actually won an Oscar, including Mikey Madison. She's the 3rd. The other 2 are Jennifer Lawrence and Ariana DeBose. So honestly, it's the opposite. Usually the Oscars are against younger talent, not older talent. Because there's always that narrative, oh, you have to wait your turn. You have to wait your turn. And it's actually worse for men. This is like the one time where like sexism against men is like really, really a thing. Because if you're a young man, especially if you're under 30, they ain't giving you an Oscar. Look at Timothée Chalamet. Look at Leonardo DiCaprio and what happened with Titanic. If anything, the Oscars are actually like more prejudiced against younger talent than older talent. So to say that Demi Moore losing is like an ageist thing is just stupid and has no precedence. Mikey Madison just gave a better performance. That's the truth of it. She gave an Oscar-worthy performance. And honestly, as much as I liked The Substance, I thought Demi Moore gave a very serviceable performance. Like, I didn't think it was like mind-blowing or amazing or anything. So I thought Mikey deserved it, and I thought a lot of the hot takes and a lot of the like even the articles that were coming out about this, like this one here from Vulture, I just thought was like really dumb. I was like, I don't understand this at all. So that's one thing, and I'm gonna move on to another point, but I want to hear your thoughts on whether or not you thought Mikey Madison deserved the award or not, or were you rooting for Demi Moore? It's totally okay if you wanted her to win. Not saying you're wrong for wanting her to win. I'm just saying it's wrong to say like she was owed the Oscar and therefore the Oscars are problematic because she didn't win. Because I think that's not. I just don't agree with that. But anyway, what do you guys think? Gray for Harmony says, I hear the same situation with one of the episodes of Hazbin Hotel. I haven't seen that. I do wish Angela Bassett had won. That's true. that whole situation with Jamie Lee Curtis still makes me mad. But I'm not like, oh, the Oscars is problematic because my favorite didn't win. I just think that's like childish. Um, Aaron Lopez says, I really wanted Demi to win, but I know there were a lot of really strong performances this year. Yeah, it was a packed category. It was a competitive category. It wasn't like everyone else was weak and Demi Moore was clearly the strongest. Like, I thought everyone was really strong across the board. Nicholas says, I haven't seen Anora and Mikey Madison's performance, but I'm rather disappointed Demi Moore didn't win. That's totally fine. You can be disappointed. But if you had seen Anora, I think you would agree Mikey did give a really good performance. And I would actually say, I do agree that she would be perfect as Harley Quinn. I think she even does the voice well. I think she has like this sort of cutesy, ditzy, but kind of also a badass, like, sensibility about her that I think fits really well with Harley Quinn. I think, honestly, she's also James Gunn's type, if I'm being honest. So I can totally see her being, like, cast as that if she wants to do it. Du Bois says, nobody's owed an Oscar, and it honestly really bothers me when people act like they're owed one. It just reeks of entitlement. Yeah, exactly. This whole, like, the backlash against Mikey in favor of Demi has really rubbed me the wrong way. Yeah, people are, like, literally attacking her to the point where even Demi Moore kind of had to, like, put out a comment, like, I'm happy for everyone, because people were just being, like, crazy about it. Alice says, Demi Moore won every Best Actress award up till the Oscars, which would have made people go in expecting her. Yeah, she was definitely the one people were expecting to win. But I think, again, after Anora won Best Editing and Best Screenplay, I was like, oh, Anora's about to rack up. Because, like, that's just kind of how I saw it happening. So I wasn't surprised when she won. Nicholas, yeah, I think people do that for a lot of things. But anyway, I have more to talk about with Anora, because there was multiple hot takes out there. So Bill Maher. I agree with him on some things. I strongly disagree with him on other things. And one of the things that he just said that I strongly disagree with is that he said that the reason why Anora won was because of cancel culture. He says, there are people who say cancel culture isn't a real thing, and I would say to them, it just happened at the Oscars. You may not think it happened, but the movie that was going to win it all was Emilia Perez. No, I do think that Emilia Perez did have a lot more, like, favor going into this. Just because for some reason the Academy, Hollywood, loves this movie. Fundamentally do not understand that. But a lot of people in this industry, I want to specify, in this industry, really liked that movie. So I don't disagree with the fact that, with the scandal aside, maybe Emilia Perez would have done better at the Oscars. However, but to say that the only reason Anora won is because of cancel culture is just so dismissive. It's such a small-minded take. Because it's like, I've seen both of those movies. I've seen Anora and Emilia Perez, and Anora is head and shoulders above Emilia Perez. Like, it's no competition. Like, 5 minutes into Emilia Perez, I was like, face in my hand, like, oh my god, what the heck am I watching? However, with Anora, I was like, oh, this is actually much better than I expected. Like, I had a totally different reaction to Anora than I did with Emilia Perez. I truly believe that the vast, vast majority of people who actually like that movie are in the Academy, are in Hollywood. I think as I've tweeted, I think Emilia Perez is like the quintessential example of how out of touch these people are. That the fact that they can't see why other people wouldn't like that movie. For how it's so flippant about some very serious subjects, like people gone missing due to the cartel. How it treats being trans like you're some sort of angel that can do no wrong, even if you actually done some really horrible stuff. Like, it's just so, the movie, I would describe Emilia Perez as tone deaf. That's how I would describe it. Tone deaf. And I think the people who support that movie are equally as tone deaf and out of touch with, like, the rest of society. And I think Bill Maher is just one of those people. Anora is genuinely a really good movie. Emilia Perez is just not. So to say, like, it only won because of cancel culture, crazy. Just crazy, 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 crazy talk. The takes I've seen about this movie are just so insane. Like, I had to respond to a few of them because I was just like, what the heck are you even saying? But beyond that, like I said, at least Emilia Perez did get one award. It won a few. It also won Best Original Song, which, if you watched the Oscars, that woman who sang on stage, what was that? What was that? Even people who like Emilia Perez were embarrassed by that. That was funny. But anyway, so Zoe Saldana, after she won for Best Supporting Actress, which means Ariana Grande did lose. Not that I think no one was shocked by that. She didn't win, like, anything. So I think this was very expected. But she was asked after the Oscars about how the fact that so many Mexicans were offended by the movie, and all of that. And she gave a terrible, like, literally a terrible response. Her response was essentially, I'm sorry you're offended, but I don't share your opinion. My movie's great, so sucks to suck. Like, that's essentially what she said. She tried to be all gracious about it. And, like, I normally like Zoe Saldana. I really do. But her entire flippant attitude towards the people who have very real issues with this film kind of irks me and also paints her as extremely out of touch to me. It's, like, so, like, holier than thou, my opinion means more than yours, so shut up kind of mentality is what I'm getting from these people. And I don't think that this is going to win her any favors or public support in the future, which sucks because I really like her and she's been in some of my favorite movies, but her whole attitude and involvement in this movie has really rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, and I do think that will carry over to other projects, maybe even Avatar 3, which is coming out later this year. So we'll see. But yeah, I thought this whole response here was kind of terrible. Did you guys see this response? What did you think of it? Nicholas says, at least the song that won was the least bad of them. What? That was least bad? I mean, to be fair, I hadn't heard all of the original songs, but El Mal is not a good song. It's, like, embarrassing that song won. Mitchell says, yeah, she kind of ruined her Oscar win. Totally agree. Totally agree. Not as much as, like, Will Smith ruined his Oscar win, but, like, I definitely think she left, to anyone not in that room, in that industry, I think she left a lot of bad taste in people's mouths. Oh God, Ethan Bell. Zoe Saldana's speech was giving Blake Lively's "It Ends With Us" press tour a run for its money. And you guys know I like to, like, look up gossip, celebrity blinds or whatever. I don't know if this is true, so allegedly, but there was a blind that said that apparently, like, at the Oscars after party, she was, like, bad mouthing the journalists and all the people who have been giving her shit about this movie, and I'm like, I can see that being true. I can totally see that being true. Will French says it kind of ruined her a little for me. Yeah. And the thing is, I do think Zoe deserves an Oscar, but I don't think she deserved it for this movie. Not because I don't like the movie, but because I actually think this is, like, the worst performance I've seen her do in a long time. I think she's better in the Guardians movie than she is in Emilia Perez. Like, she's been really good in a lot of films, but I thought her performance in this was not even that good. So I feel like people gave her this award just because she has a lot of friends in the industry who just wanted to give her an award, kind of like, Jamie Lee Curtis. But I don't think she'd actually deserved it for this movie, in my opinion. Will also ruined her. Okay. Yeah. A lot of you agree with me, so that's great. Great for Harmony, 100% agreed. Cool. So, something that I did think was funny. First of all, I thought Conan O'Brien was actually a really good host. I thought he was funny. He had the best joke of the night when he said Anora uses the F word 479 times. That's more than the record set by Carla Sofia Gaston's publicist, referring to Carla's tweets, which I thought was really, really funny. That got a big laugh. I thought he was good. I thought he had a lot of charm. I still would have preferred Ricky Gervais, but I don't think he's ever going to do it again, and they're probably never going to let him. But I thought he was good. I thought he was better than Jimmy Kimmel, at least. So, no problems with him, but I did think this joke was very funny. And honestly, props to Carla for being a good sport about all of it. Like, she was laughing in the audience, too, which I thought was honestly good for her. But yeah, overall, like I said, Anora got 5, the most of the night. The Brutalist got 3. Wicked got 2. Only in the tech categories, though. It got production design and costuming, which definitely deserved. Costuming, it would have been a crime if, like, it lost costuming. Dune Part 2 only got 2, which, compared to the first one, which that got 6, just kind of shows that, like, I don't know, I feel like, actually, a lot of people do actually agree with me. Because when I first saw Dune Part 2, if you guys remember, like, in my review almost a year ago now, at first I said I liked it more than the first one. But honestly, I didn't really feel that in my heart. Because, yes, the second one has, like, more big action sequences and the worm scenes are super, super cool. However, the reason why I think Dune fans like the Dune movies is not because of the action. We like it because of, like, the cerebral, like, eeriness, the cool world building, like, the weird stuff. And I kind of felt like that was done better in the first movie. And so for us Dune heads, I actually like the first Dune more than Dune 2. Like, I feel like Dune 1 just stuck with me more than Dune 2. And I feel like maybe a lot of other people, at least in the Academy, agree with me. Because it just did not get the same kind of attention that the first one did. So yeah, I'm not surprised by this. I think as much as I did like Dune 2, I think 2 Oscars is deserved, to be fair. Do you guys agree with this? Are any Dune fans like, no, deserved more? Or are there any other snubs that you weren't happy with here? Because, I mean, Emilia Perez still got 2 Oscars. So Emilia Perez, whether you hate it or not, is an Oscar-winning film. How are you guys feeling about all of this? Aaron Lopez says, with Dune, I'm more interested in the world building. Same. The world building and lore, I think, is... People who really like Dune is what we're here for, not the action. Which is why I think us Dune fans kind of prefer the first one more. Oh, but Charlie has the opposite opinion. Okay, you said you didn't like Dune 1 until you watched the second, and then that made you appreciate it more. Okay, interesting. Mitchell, you thought Dune Part 2 was better. Okay. Rob just thinks Dune 2 is fine. Okay. It seems like a lot of people agree with you, though, that it's just fine, because, like, the Academy just does not care for these movies. I think it's crazy, though. As much as I said, like, Dune 2, I didn't like it as much as the first one. The fact that there are so many Academy voters who think Emilia Perez is better than Dune 2 is crazy to me. Like, crazy to me. I do not understand that at all. But anyway, moving on, because we have more to talk about here. So Flow, this was a surprise. Flow won Best Animated Film at the Oscars, beating both The Wild Robot and Inside Out 2. Now, you guys know I was actually personally rooting for Inside Out 2 just because it was one of my favorite movies of last year. But I did also really like The Wild Robot, so I would have been fine if that won as well. But in the end, neither of them ended up winning, and it went to Flow, which is an international film. In fact, this means that for 3 consecutive years, Disney has gone without winning Best Animated Film. And for the last 2, they have gone to an international film. Since the last one was the Miyazaki movie, The Boy and the Heron. That's what won last year. So that's fascinating to me, and I think really shows how Disney animation, even within the industry, like the perception of it, has declined quite a bit. Because the best animated film category used to be kind of jokingly almost referred to as like the Disney Award, because like it was always going to be a Disney movie that won this category. But now it seems like Disney can't win, even when they have a big hit like Inside Out 2, where even critics like it. So that's fascinating to me, that Disney is even like running out of favor within their, like among their peers. But I can't say it's totally undeserved. I really can't say it's undeserved, because there was this viral tweet on Twitter that got like a ton of views and interactions. How many views did this get? 11.2 million. So yeah, went crazy viral on Twitter. And it's literally just like a montage of basically clips from 101 Dalmatians. And look at how gorgeous the animation is. Absolutely gorgeous. And like, if you actually watch or read any of the comments or the quotes, like everyone's talking about how Disney doesn't make movies like this, how they wish Disney would go back to making this animated style again, or going back to 2D animation, or even cell animation. A lot of Disney animated movies these days just does not have this kind of magic. And the fact that this got 11.6 million views means that a lot of people really miss this style of animation. And I feel like it's true. A lot of Disney animated films currently just like do not have this kind of magic to them anymore. I mean, as I said, look at Wish. Do you guys remember Wish? I mean, no one talks about it anymore. Everyone kind of forgot about it. But Wish just came out last year. And that was supposed to celebrate Disney's 100th anniversary. And the animation looked terrible, because they tried to make it look 2D, but they didn't want to actually make it 2D. So like they used CGI to make it look 2D animated, which actually just ended up making it look very flat and unfinished. The animation in Wish genuinely looks terrible. Like, actually terrible. So the fact that like they've gone from making movies like 101 Dalmatians to Wish just shows you the downgrade in quality. At least the quality control coming out of Disney animation. So I think that's part of why they're not as respected as they used to be. And they're not even able to win like the big Oscars that used to be gimmies for them. And I think they really need to like do some soul searching at Disney and like go back to the source, go back to tradition. I honestly think they need to like try at least one movie that's 2D hand drawn, like old school classic Disney. Like imagine if they tried to make a proper Disney Renaissance movie. I'm talking hand drawn, 2D animated, Disney princess film, musical. And when I say Disney princess, I don't mean like the Moana version of a Disney princess where Moana complains about being called a princess. No, I want like a proper princess, okay? Or at least someone who becomes a proper princess. I want a love story with a proper prince. I want a villain that's like just evil, not some misunderstood villain. Okay? I want all of these things. And I want a musical. I want not just like any kind of musical. Because another thing that I didn't like about Wish was that they got pop writers to make the music. And you can tell because the music's not very good. And I love pop music. But like for those kinds of movies, you really need like a Broadway caliber writer, composer to make that kind of music. Like, Alan Menken, right? Alan Menken. He is responsible for a lot of the music we know and love from the 90s. And he comes from Broadway. We need a Broadway caliber person, not Lin-Manuel Miranda, because his style is very specific and tired. But like someone else, okay? I just saw Death Becomes Her on Broadway, by the way. Beautiful, beautiful show. Let's get someone who can like, I don't know, someone from Death Becomes Her to come and like make the music for Disney or something. I don't know. Um, let's just get like someone actually from Broadway to do the music again, not like these pop stars or whatever. Imagine if they made like a classic 2D animated Disney animated fairy tale, princess fairy tale musical for like with actual Broadway music again. I think if they sold it as just that, I think the movie could be a hit just on that alone. Just because there's so many people, at least from like my generation, who grew up on Disney Renaissance movies and we love that style. I really feel like even kids today would love that style. So I really feel like Disney at this point needs to do some soul searching with their animation and like what they're doing wrong. Because if I'm being honest, a lot of the stuff that they're working on in the future and even currently still is not great. Like this is Pixar. This GIF you're seeing right now is from a Pixar series called Win or Lose on Disney Plus. What the heck? How did we go from 101 Dalmatians, the beautiful animation you just saw, to this? This Grubhub ass looking animation. It looks terrible. It looks flat. It looks like there's no detail. It looks very corporate. It looks very cold. It does not look good. And why is this character twerking? What happened to Pixar? Like, both Disney Animation and Pixar really need to fix what the heck they're doing. Because I think at this point they're in danger of becoming irrelevant, and I think they have a lot more flops coming in the future. I'm thinking of, what is that, Hopper movie? You guys remember that Disney Pixar movie that's coming out that's about, like, someone switching and becoming a groundhog or something like that? That looks like a flop. There's also Elio. That looks like a flop. I mean, they really need to, like, reconvene and try to do something different because the stuff they're doing now is just not good. And I really love Disney animation. I grew up on it. So the fact that, I mean, when I say grew up on it, I don't even just mean, like, the 90s stuff. I'm talking about, like, my mom used to make me watch, like, the old school, like, Mickey Mouse silent film era stuff. Like, I grew up with the old Disney animation stuff as well as, like, the 90s era stuff. And, like, even the old stuff is better than this. So I'm just, like, really sad that this is what, like, both Disney Animation and Pixar has come to. Because I'm just like, what happened? You guys used to make some really great movies, and now you can't even win Best Animated Feature? A category you guys used to be a shoo-in for every year? This is just embarrassing. And again, I could go on and on about this, but I have other things to talk about. But yeah, what are your thoughts about this whole thing? Oh, wait, I have a super chat from Shelly Lee. Thank you so much, Shelly Lee. You're always so kind, so generous. I always appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. The last time Disney did that was Princess and the Frog. I know! They literally, after that movie didn't do as well as they wanted, they literally shut down their 2D animation production house. And I think that was a huge mistake. She becomes a princess, villain, and music. I know, it literally is the last of that kind of movie that they've made. And that was released in, what, 2009, I believe? Or 2008? Like, that was a long time ago at this point. Again, both Tangled and Frozen were meant to usher in this new era of Disney princess movies. And they did usher in that era. That era of, like, princesses suddenly not having a prince, the villain not being that much of a focus, there being, like, no romance because it's always about, like, oh, the girl can do it on her own type of thing. And at the time, that was fresh and interesting, and it really worked for those movies, especially Frozen. But now that's the new trope, that's the new standard, and it's no longer fresh or interesting. And at this point, doing a traditional Disney princess story would actually be fresh and interesting because they haven't done it in so long. So I really do hope they go back to that. But you're totally right, Shelly Lee. And thank you again so much for the super chat. Oh, thank you, Luna. That's such a nice comment. Movie Freak says, have you heard they canceled Tiana? Yes, we'll be talking about that later. Rodney says, thought the Wild Robot was going to win. Yeah, I thought it was going to win as well. I was actually surprised Flo won, but yeah. I would have been happy with the Great Robot as well. Yeah, I hate the gummy animation a lot. The gummy animation, like I said, it looks like Grubhub. Do you guys, I don't know if you're not in the US, you may not know what I'm talking about. But in the US, there's this, a food delivery app called Grubhub, and they have like these animated commercials, or like they used to. I don't know if they still do them, but they the animation looks like this. It's just like flat, uninteresting, corporate, and boring, and that's exactly what they're doing now. And I'm just like, what happened to y'all? Like, seriously, where is the love and creativity from this? Because I'm not getting it from just even this one little clip here. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot of you guys are agreeing with me in general, though. This is why I'm nervous about Shrek 5, by the way. Because they updated the animation style. I don't really love the direction that Western animation is going in. So I'm really, really worried that it's going to, like, not look that good. Especially because I didn't like how it looked in that one teaser. So that's, like, my one hang up about Shrek 5 is that I'm really worried about all the updates they've made to the animation. Because, like, I truly think Western animation is, like, not doing... I don't like the direction it's heading in, it's what I'm saying. But anyway, I have to move on because, like, I've talked too much about this. So Adrian Brody had the longest acceptance speech ever at 5 minutes and 40 seconds. Like, he tried to, like, they actually played him off twice with music, but the first time that he was like, no, I've done this before, you're gonna let me speak. I bet he thought that, like, they were just being rude and not letting him talk. I don't think he realized how long he was going on for. And for a speech that was almost 6 minutes long, I don't remember a single thing he said other than, I've done this before, let me talk. Like, that's the most memorable part of his whole speech. And, like, Cillian Murphy's in the back, like, can we wrap this up, please? I'm tired, I want to go home. Like, dude was just saying a whole bunch of nothing. Speaking of speeches, though, I thought the best speech of the night was actually Kieran Culkin's. Kieran Culkin is in love with his wife, and he had this lovely speech where he was talking about how his wife had promised him that if he won an Oscar, she would give him 4 kids. And so he was like, well, I've got the Oscar now, so I guess we got to get busy. And I thought that was so sweet. Like, she was laughing. She was smiling in the audience. Like, clearly they're, like, head over heels for each other. Like, it was a very sweet, touching speech. And I thought it was the most memorable of the night. But some people had a problem with it. Some people were like, oh, he's trying to intimidate her into having kids. He's trying to pressure her into having kids. And I'm like, do you guys just look for problems? Like, do you just want to be offended at everything? Like, how is this what you have a problem with? Like, how do you look at a speech of a loving husband being excited at the idea of getting to have kids with his loving wife and think this is offensive? Like, how do you come to that conclusion? But I saw so many dumb takes like that I'm like, do you just hate love? Like, what is the problem here? Like, clearly they're so in love with each other, and she had no problem with it. In fact, she even shook her head at one point during the speech, being like, yeah, let's have these kids. Like, it was sweet. What? I could not, for the life of me, understand the reaction to this speech. I was like, you guys have problems. I'm sorry. This is not on Kieran Culkin. This is on you. But anyway, did you guys like this speech, or did you think there were other speeches that were better? What was your favorite speech? What did you think of Kieran's speech? Thoughts? Natanya says some people are miserable. Yeah, some people definitely are just miserable. Wilderness Style says some people just love the drama. I agree. Rob also agrees it was the best speech. Oh, Czech thought his speech was gross? Well, let's have that debate, because I thoroughly don't understand what's gross about it. I thought it was very sweet and loving. Why, Czech, did you not like the speech? What about it was gross to you? Aaron says, I'm sure his wife knew he wanted kids, because otherwise, why would she marry him? Look, I don't want kids, so I wouldn't marry someone that wants kids. Yes, exactly. people are acting like, oh, what if she doesn't want kids? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure they've had this discussion before. In fact, he said that they have. So why are you assuming things about their relationship that you don't know when they've already said that she wanted kids? So it's just weird. It's just weird. Will says Kieran is a good husband. I thought he was too. He even wore gemstones for his that represented his wife and his kid, which I thought was really sweet. Um Okay, Chuck says, I think he should have kept the baby making part private. So was your problem with the part where he was like, let's get busy? Is that the part? Like, you didn't think he should have been, like, sexual about it? Because I thought he was very, like, tongue-in-cheek and tasteful about it. But, I mean, you have the right to your opinion. But yeah, I'm glad a lot of you are agreeing with me, because I was just, like, baffled by that reaction. I was like, what do you mean? That was so sweet. But anyway, moving on. So, Ariana Grande, Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo performed. I thought their performance was lovely. I loved their solo performances. I thought Ariana sounded amazing singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. But I got super excited when Cynthia Erivo started singing that song from The Wiz, because I actually like The Wiz more than The Wizard of Oz, and I love that song. In fact, I have it on my playlist. I listen to it still, like, sometimes. So I thought those performances were amazing. And then they teamed up for Defying Gravity, and I was like, yes, and the battle cry. Oh, so good. This was another highlight of me for the night. I do wish that they had won something, but they'd still have Wicked Part 2. So maybe they'll get more, like, recognition for the second one. Who knows? But I do think that they had, like, a really, really good performance. Now, who didn't have a good performance? I did not like the James Bond tribute at all. I thought I thought it was a chop. I thought Doja Cat, who is usually a really good performer, I thought this was the worst performance I've ever seen for her, ever. I thought in general the whole Bond segment was out of place, because it wasn't even like there was a Bond movie that just came out, so it's like, why was this even necessary? In fact, I kind of felt like I saw a tweet that said, like, this segment almost felt like a memorial for Bond, like, as we talked about in last week's show, that Bond was just bought by Amazon. So now Amazon controls Bond. So it kind of almost did feel like a memorial service for, like, what Bond used to be, because it's definitely about to change. And I definitely think that's kind of what it was, because otherwise it made no sense to have, like, a Bond tribute, and it was like 10 minutes long. It was way too long. Didn't need to be there, and I thought, honestly, Doja Cat's and even Ray's performance were not very good. I thought they were very pitchy. I thought Ray was better than Doja, but, like, still not that great. Lisa she just kind of danced, and I'm just like, again, I just felt like it was so pointless. I didn't understand it. But what did you guys think of the... Ooh, nope, not that. What did you guys think of the Bond performance? Did you guys like it? Did you think it was good? Did you think it was as bad as I did? Denisha says The Wiz is scary. You know what? It did scare me as a kid. The first time I saw it when I was a little kid, The Wiz did scare me. That scene where they're in the subway and those the pillars start coming to life scared the crap out of me. So yeah, it can be scary. Yeah, I feel like the only reason they did this performance is because of the Amazon deal, which is so weird to me. Okay, a lot of people are agreeing the Bond part was awful. I thought it was the worst part of the night, honestly. Which sucks, because I used to really like Doja Cat, but I thought her performance was the worst of the night. But yeah. How many of you guys have seen The Wiz? The Wiz is really good. If you haven't seen The Wiz, I highly recommend it. Mitchell, you like Doja's outfit, but you didn't like her performance. Okay. Rob says it was a loving goodbye. It did feel like a goodbye. That's why it's so weird. It's like, I don't know. It felt like a memorial for James Bond. It was weird. Just thought the whole thing was weird. But anyway. Moving on. We're almost out of talking about the Oscars. I promise. Like I said, I did warn you we had a lot to talk about. So, um, I'm gonna try not to make this like 3 hours. It's not gonna be 3 hours. It's probably gonna be two. Just to be fair. Um, Hello. Oh no. I think I'm gonna have to get my computer checked because like what is happening? Is the stream working all right? Please say yes. I'm going to renew. Okay, there we go. So Amazon has approached the Broccoli's with pitches for a James Bond spin-off series based on Moneypenny. Considering that we just talked about how that whole James Bond segment looks like a memorial, I think they were maybe right about that because obviously Amazon already has plans for spin-offs and sequels and probably a cinematic universe because they want a Moneypenny series. It's no longer just going to be about the movies. They're going to want some sort of streaming series on Amazon Prime as well. Prime Video. And apparently they've already pitched. Sorry. Apparently they've already pitched a Moneypenny series. Now, Barbara Broccoli, who's like who used to be in charge of, the Bond franchise until she just sold it. She was like, Jeff Bezos is a fucking idiot. And he is. And Jeff Bezos was like, I don't care what it costs, get rid of her. Which sounds very much like something a Bond villain would say. So this, I think if you're a Bond fan, this is not good. I think if you're a Bond fan, this should be like terrifying, scary news for you. Because they're definitely planning on expanding and having multiple spin-offs and movies and sequels. Like, it used to be like you would have a Bond film every couple of years with the same Bond and that's it. Now, it's definitely not going to be that. You're going to have the Bond films, you're going to have the Moneypenny series, you're going to have, like, 008 series, you're going to have, like, I don't know, every side character is going to have their own spin-off. It's going to be a Bond cinematic universe now. So I hope you're okay with that. That's what Amazon buying this means. And they're already proving it because they want a Moneypenny series. But yeah, would you guys actually be interested in a Moneypenny series? I mean, does this sound to people who are actually like Bond fans? Because to be fair, I'm only familiar with the most recent incarnation of Bond. I'm not like a Bond head where I've seen like a ton of Bond movies. But I do think that Bond is like a very specific kind of franchise where it's not meant to be turned into like some big cinematic universe or whatever. It's supposed to be like, it's supposed to be an event when one comes out. And I do feel like them making so much content in this space is going to prevent, I think it's going to, what happened to Marvel is what's going to happen to Bond. It's like each film is not going to film like an event anymore because you're going to exhaust the audience with content. I really feel like that's what's going to happen. Marvel is a great like example of what's to come if they really go down this route. Which is why Barbara Broccoli was like, you're a fucking idiot. But it seems like Jeff Bezos doesn't care. Even though he lit like $2 billion on fire with his Rings of Power series. But I guess he's almost a trillionaire or whatever, so he doesn't care. But yeah, are you guys fans of this? What do you think? I'm seeing lots of people very unhappy about this. Denisha says the reception of this new Bond era is so awful that people are not liking it. Well, we to be fair, we don't even know who the new Bond is. So let's at least wait till we see who the new Bond is. I know this is going to be a franchise that now requires homework, which sucks. I really don't like this at all. Potato Girl says you don't think they're capable of making something entertaining. Oof. If I hadn't seen The Boys and The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which are both on Amazon Prime, I would agree with you, because I thought The Rings of Power was god-awful. But yeah, they do have the ability to make good stuff. They have made good stuff. But I'm just very nervous about what they're going to do with Bond, because I think they're going to ruin the franchise, inevitably. Denisha also says, my aunt is a fan of James Bond movies, and she has always said that she wants to see female James Bond. That'll never happen. Especially with Amazon, Jeff Bezos opening it, that is definitely never going to happen. And to be fair, I don't think it should happen, because I think James Bond was very specifically written to be a man. James Bond is like based on a very old archetype of like a very like cigar smoking, smooth talking, womanizing kind of man. If you make Bond a woman, you fundamentally change who the character is. So I don't even think Bond should be a woman. Will is not happy about this. Okay. Seeing no one's happy about this. All right. So we're all in agreement on there. Let's move on. Sorry, I'm going to have to refresh all of these. So, overall, the viewership was slightly up from last year, kind of. But you can kind of tell that, like, it's still down overall. Like, the peak in 2014 was 43.7 million. That's crazy. I truly don't think the Oscars are ever going to get back to that. And you can see just, like, over the years how, like, the Oscars has just, like, continuously decreased in viewership. I mean, it's really not good. In 2021, obviously, you can kind of give that one a break because that was due to the pandemic. But, like, even 19.7 million, even though it's slightly up from last year, it's still, like, greatly down from, like, where it used to be. And I just don't think the Oscars are ever going to get back to, like, where they used to be. I just think the mixture of people cutting the cord, people watching clips on social media, I just think that, like, the best we can hope for is that, like, the Oscars stay above, like, about 10 million. Honestly, I think that's the floor. Because I just don't think we're ever going to get back above, like, 20, 25 million. Even if a super, super popular movie gets nominated, which we've already had, because, like, Barbie, Oppenheimer, those are really super popular movies, and even still, we only had 19.5 million people watch. So, yeah. Although, I do think it's interesting that it seems like the Oscars are much bigger online, because apparently the social interactions for the Oscars outperformed both the Grammys and the Super Bowl. So people may not be, like, watching it live, but they're certainly talking about it, or at least the people who are watching it live are talking about it a lot. I mean, even I live tweeted the Oscars, so I contributed to this. Again, that's why you should follow me on Twitter. But yeah, I just think that the viewership numbers are not going to go back to what they used to. I think we just live in too different of a world. But I do think the fact that it's so dominant on social media is what'll keep the Oscars alive and relevant for a long time. So I think they're probably going to have to shift perspective or shift priorities from viewership to social media engagement, because I think that's what's going to end up becoming more important anyway. At least that's my prediction. Now, we're finally done with the Oscars. We're finally done. Now we can talk about Thunderbolts. So, okay. First of all, I just want to say I've been tweeting a lot about the Thunderbolts, and maybe some of you have been thinking I've been a little bit too harsh towards them, but I have a reason, okay? I have a reason. Because I actually think the marketing for Thunderbolts is either really smart or it's going to age horribly. And here's why. So what they've started doing, and it all started with Florence Pugh throwing out this statement saying that she compares Thunderbolts to a badass indie A24 feeling assassin movie. A24, being kind of the key thing that, like, she wanted to compare the movie to. And if you know A24 is it's a studio. Well, no, it's not a studio. It's a distributor. Sorry, I need a drink. It's a distributor. They don't actually make the movies themselves, but they do distribute the movies. But they have a really good, like, they know how to pick really good movies that fit a certain brand, which is become known as the A24 brand aesthetic. So A24 has picked up a lot of fans. It has its own fan base in the way that, like, Disney has a fan base. And A24 has come to be known as like this like the indie darling of the industry where they make a lot of these cool, quirky, smaller, interesting movies. So it's very interesting that Thunderbolts has been compared to like a movie that would come out of this studio. Um and the reason why I think it's funny is because they just released this teaser and they are really, really leaning hard into it. Now, first of all, I actually think this is a pretty good teaser. The music in it's actually really good. I'm only going to play like a tiny amount because I don't want to get copyrighted, but I just want you to get the feel of it from the music. There's something. It's like this kind of like beat where, I don't know, it's just, it feels, if you've watched a lot of indie trailers, it has that sort of like indie A24 neon vibe to it. And in the trailer, they actually highlight a lot of the behind the scenes talent that's working on the film. So these are actual title cards that are in the trailer. They say, from the stars of Midsommar, A Different Man, You Hurt My Feelings. From the writers and director of Beef, cinematographer of The Green Knight, production designer of Hereditary, editor of Minari, composer of Everything Everywhere All at Once, comes Thunderbolts. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, to me, this feels a bit desperate. This feels a bit desperate. And the reason why I say this feels desperate is because when have you ever, superhero movie or not, ever seen a movie highlight their production designer and their editor, even their cinematographer? Like, I've never seen that before. Ever. Like, to say, like, oh, this is from the editor of Minari. Like, this is a serious film. Like, how they're trying to market this movie now is, like, it just screams, we swear this movie's good this time, you guys. Like, we swear this one's actually good. Like, look at all these other movies this movie's like. And I'm like, I feel like it's just desperate. It's really, really desperate. And it just rubs me kind of the wrong way because it comes across as cringe to me. And my feelings were validated when they made it even worse by also, they had this absolute cinema on the thumbnail. Absolute cinema. Do you guys, if you're not online like I am, you might not know this meme, but this meme comes from years ago in like 2019 when Martin Scorsese was talking about how he doesn't think Marvel movies are cinema. And so the cinema meme came out where, like, anytime someone, or like usually film bros use this, they're like, they see something that they think is like really good. It's like, oh, this is absolute cinema. And they use Martin Scorsese as a meme. The fact that they're now using this meme to promote this movie is so deeply ironic. It's actually kind of cringy, but also very funny. And it's cringy because, like, the whole reason this meme even got started was because Martin Scorsese was criticizing Marvel movies for not being cinema. And now they're using that cinema meme to promote their movie and saying, hey guys, this one's actually cinema. We promise this one's actually good. Like, it's cringy to me. I think it's try hard. I think it's trying too hard. I think there clearly must be desperate if they're willing to, like, use Martin Scorsese words to actually promote their film. I mean, the movie might be good. To be fair, I don't think the movie looks bad. To be fair, I think the trailer actually makes the movie look really good. But the way that they're marketing it as like some A24 indie drama is cringy to me. Because it's still a superhero film. And also, what happens if the movie's actually not good? What happens if, like, people are actually really disappointed by the film and they've marketed it as absolute cinema? I mean, the jokes write themselves. You're just walking into a trap here. So, I don't know. Are you guys feeling how I'm feeling, and that I feel like this marketing is a bit desperate? I mean, the editor of Minari, they're really going for, like, the film bro audience. And by film bro, I mean, like, the kind that, like, says absolute cinema all the time, and, like, they think movies like what's it called? I don't know, but you know what I'm talking about when I say like that film bro audience, right? Like that's who they're clearly trying to target with this film. And I'm not sure if they're going to be interested or if there's enough of them that will want to see this movie. I don't know. How do you feel about this? Do you guys feel like it's desperate like I do, or do you not care? Aaron Lopez says, this is not a good sign. I think Thunderbolts is going to flop or so bad it's good. Here's the thing about Thunderbolts. As I said with Captain America. With Captain America flopping, I just don't see how... Like, how many people are out there that didn't want to see Captain America but are excited about Thunderbolts? Who have less known characters and are way less popular than Captain America and Hulk. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't know how many people are out there like that. Which makes me think that unless Thunderbolts really is just as good as all of these movies here, I just can't see it, like, doing even better than Captain America. And Captain America, as we just talked about earlier, is not doing that well. So that's why I have a lot of reservations about Thunderbolts, and why they might have reservations about Thunderbolts, and why this marketing campaign is getting so desperate, because this is just giving desperate to me. If you're a film bro, that's fine, but it's definitely, I'm just using that term to describe a certain kind of audience, and I think that's who they're trying to target this movie to. Rob says it's clearly just goofing around. I don't think so. I think they're dead ass. I think they're dead ass being like, oh, it's like these movies, go see these. I think even Florence Pugh going out and saying, oh, it's like an A24 movie, I feel like she was given that to say by the marketing team. Like, now that I've seen this teaser and everything and how they're marketing it, I feel like she was told to say that. Mitchell says you have zero interest in this movie. Okay. Danny says they're trying too hard. Blueberry Muffin says, to be honest, never heard of Thunderbolts till you started talking about it. It comes out in May. That's really not good. Okay, you also think it's cringy that they did all the name dropping. Yeah, I just find it cringy. I find it a little try hard. Like, I'm sorry, but if I'm being real, who actually cares about who the editor is of these movies? You know what I mean? Like, they've never once marketed one of their films based off of who the editor is. Like, oh, the editor of Minari, don't you want to go see it now? Like, what? Denisha says, the Thunderbolts catering to the film bros is recipe for disaster, in my opinion. Look at the way Joker 2 was received. Exactly. That's a great point. Because I also feel like Joker 2 was trying to appeal more towards, like, the cinema bro kind of audience, and that flopped terribly. So, I don't know. I just think the marketing is a bit try-hard. We'll see if it works for them. Maybe it does. I still think it could be a good movie. I just think the editing is, like, screaming desperate to me. Anyway, let's move on. So, like I said, they also have Fantastic Four, and they need that to do really well. They just released some concept art from Fantastic Four. I thought we'd look at them. They are very going hardcore into this stylized aesthetic. I really like it. I think it looks cool. I do worry that it'll niche down the movie, though. So I'm a little worried about that, but I think it looks kind of cool. It's like retro-futuristic, which I think is interesting. I love the way that their building looks. I think it looks really cool. In fact, I love this whole aesthetic. Honestly, I wish this aesthetic would make a comeback. It kind of reminds me of Tomorrowland. In fact, I think I just saw a post that this was inspired by Tomorrowland, which you can definitely tell. This movie has to do well. If Captain America already didn't do well, Thunderbolts, I think, is on the rocks. Fantastic Four kind of has to do well. If not, then that means, like, they just had 3 flops in a row, and they really can't afford that right now. Do you guys think that do you guys think that Fantastic Four actually looks good? Do you guys think that this movie looks good? Do you think it'll be a hit? Are you guys actually looking forward to this? Does the concept art and how stylized it looks convince you to go see this at all? Um, hold on. I need to fix my chat thing. Da, da, da. Evil Connor says, does this mean the backgrounds in the film will be AI produced? Oh, no, no, no. Now, I have no idea if these concept art is AI, but like no, this is just concept art. These are not actual stills from the movie. Jal Pedro says this looks good. I do think it looks good. Personally, I do think it looks good, but I also think that the retro aesthetic of it could make this very niche, which is what I'm concerned about. Was the poster made with AI? I don't know. I did not see that. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of people think it looks good, though. I do think Fantastic Four is their one hope for the year. I do. I think that's like their one hope for this year, because I'm not as optimistic about Thunderbolts as you guys are. Well, would love to be wrong, though, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with Fantastic Four, but I think it's 50-50. It could go either way at this point. Yeah. Technogirl says it can be a hit or a miss depending on how good the storyline is. Exactly. Oh, Denisha says the older generations will like Fantastic Four. Okay. Marvel doesn't care how old you are as long as you go see the movie, so we'll see. Now, okay. Daredevil Born Again did just premiere. I don't know how many of you guys are watching it, again, because like I have not seen... It just doesn't seem to have the same online traction as like even Agatha had. But that just might mean like the audience who is watching it is not the kind to tweet about it, so who knows. But I did watch the first episode. I haven't seen the second one yet, but I did watch the first episode. I actually really liked it. It was better than I was expecting. I think this is already shaping up to be one of the best Marvel Disney Plus shows. I like Fisk. I like how I think Vincent D'Onofrio is amazing in that role. I'm about to spoil it, so if you don't want to know what happens in Daredevil season 1, just pointing out I'm about to spoil it. So now that Foggy's dead and like Karen has moved away, I am a little sad about that because I love those characters so much. Particularly Karen. Karen was actually my favorite character in the previous Daredevil series. So to see that she's not going to be in the rest of the season does suck. And to be fair, so far, these new characters that they've introduced, I have just not been that interested in. But maybe they could grow on me. It's only been one episode. There's time. But so far, those characters have just not, like, clicked with me. So that's really my biggest complaint so far. But overall, I actually like it so far. I thought the first episode was strong. If you like the old Daredevil series, I think you'll like this. But what do you guys think? Have you been watching Daredevil? Did you like the first episode? What are your thoughts on the series? Is anyone actually watching this? Okay, Eugene says, love the first episode. The second one was like 7.75. I haven't seen the second one, so I can't say, but I'm glad that you liked the first. Will says it actually looks a tad colorful. It did. I thought it looked good. Like, visually, it looks good. Yeah. Yes, Eugene, I did see that there's a report that Foggy and Karen will return in season 2, which is interesting and also a spoiler, which means they must be desperate for ratings. But I mean, I'll take as much Karen as I can get. I've loved Deborah Ann Wool since True Blood, so I'm a huge fan of her. Rob says, I liked the episodes okay, but I'm not fully sold yet. That's fine. I do like the setup that Fisk is the mayor now. I think that's interesting. I like the political aspect of it. Another critique that I didn't like was that they now have Vanessa as kind of like an antagonist against Fisk, which I don't like because one of the things I liked about the old series was that Vanessa and Fisk's relationship was really interesting. So I kind of don't like that they kind of, again, turned her into a girl boss that suddenly doesn't like Fisk or whatever. But, like, that's, I guess, whatever. I got the feeling just based on how they treated Foggy, Karen, and Vanessa that Marvel really, for whatever reason, did not want to bring back those characters, but fans just demanded it so much that they had to. But the way that they treated them was just kind of disrespectful, in my opinion. Like, they were just like, okay, here are your characters, now we're gonna get rid of them in, like, one episode. But yeah, that's kind of, like, my main complaint with the show so far. But overall, I did like the first episode. Oh, astronomy, that's interesting. But why would he do that? How would he do that in the context of the show? Okay, astronomy loved it. That's great. Yeah, I hope, honestly, they're saying they're going to make a Punisher show as well. If they do make a Punisher show, I hope Karen at least shows up in that, because I love the relationship between Karen and Punisher, like, a lot. Okay, Eugenia says it's making Fisk look weak. He's definitely not, like, the alpha type that he used to be, but I kind of feel like they made that fit with, like, character progression, so I kind of don't mind it. Some of you are saying you don't watch the show, so I think I'm just going to move on from now. But if you're watching the show, I do hope you're at least enjoying it. All right. I'm just going to go ahead and, like, quickly refresh all of these so that I don't have to keep doing this. All right. All right. So Robert Downey Jr. did say that he is writing his own backstory for Doctor Doom, which, as someone who has never read the comics, doesn't mean much to me. But I do think that for people who have read the comics and are, like, intimately familiar with Doctor Doom, I could see that being a problem for them. Because I feel like Marvel is already moving away from the comics a lot as is. And then there's already this animosity against Robert Downey Jr. coming into the role because they're like, they should have gotten their own Doctor Doom. And then to also admit that he's just writing his own backstory, I feel like anyone who's a Doctor Doom fan is probably feeling pretty disrespected at this point, which is not a good thing. So I'm very nervous to see how Robert Pattinson's take on this character is going to turn out. And I'm nervous because I really like RDJ. I really like his Iron Man. I love his Tony Stark. He just also had this comment about how much this role means to him, and you could tell he really does love and appreciate Marvel. I mean, he was offered a role in the Odyssey and he turned it down to be in Avengers Doomsday. He didn't have to come back to Marvel. He had a career outside of Marvel. He chose to come back to Marvel. So I really, really hope this works out for him. But I have to say, everything that I'm hearing about this is starting to make me nervous. Though I keep thinking about those leaked concept art, and I still think the concept art looks really good for Doomsday, I will say. But I wonder how, like, hardcore comic book fans will take to this, considering the fact that they seem to be making so much up about this character, when I think this character already has a well-defined backstory. So I don't know how fans are going to react to this, is what I'm saying. If you are a comic book fan, if you're a Doctor Doom fan, does this make you nervous at all? Are you still excited to see Robert Downey Jr. as this character? How are you feeling about this? Okay, Prototype doesn't care. Caledonia says he reads a lot of comics. Well, that's great. If he's getting inspiration from the comics, then that makes me feel better. Rob says it's cool if it's true, but Potato Girl is worried. Oh, JCB. Jay says, oh God. Jay says, I thought Iron Man died in Endgame. Yeah. This is going to be really confusing for normies. Because, like, yeah, you're not wrong. He did. So we're going to see how this works out, because no one really knows how this is going to happen. So you're not missing anything. We're all in the dark here. But yeah, he is coming back as a different character. Potato Girl's RDJ has the chops. He does. He's a really good actor. I think he could act in anything. Du Bois says, even though I've never been a comic book fan, I think they do better off staying truer to the source material. Yeah, I would agree. I agree. I'm a little nervous that they're, like, just going to be making up too much, and then comic book fans are going to be like, but that's not how it's supposed to be. So we'll see. I think they're playing with fire here. They're risking a lot with this movie, so we'll see how it turns out. Let's move on, though. So, interesting news, though. A live-action animated hybrid for Oswald the Lucky Rabbit is in the works. I think that's interesting. I think it's interesting that Disney's finally doing something with Oswald. They haven't really done anything with him at all, even though there's tons of merchandise for him in the parks. Like, if you ever go to the parks, you will not have a hard time finding an Oswald stuffed plushie because they're everywhere. So it's interesting that they're finally, like, giving him his own series, even though it's just on Disney Plus. And Jon Favreau is doing it, which is also interesting because isn't he supposed to be working on, like, the Mando movie or Star Wars? I feel like Jon Favreau has gotten tired of Star Wars and he's, like, trying to do other things. So, you know, going back to the whole, like, Kathleen Kennedy, is she leaving or not thing, if she does leave, and I think she is probably going to leave by next year, I don't think it's going to be Jon Favreau that's taking over, because he seems like he's on to other things at this point. So that's interesting there. But I do think that it's about time that they make an Oswald series. Would you guys be interested in this? Would you actually watch this? Do you even know who Oswald is? It could be, I think it is Who Framed Roger Rabbit style. I think that is what they're going for. Oh, Potato Girl, you really have lost all faith in Disney. Wow. Honestly, Jon Favreau is just, like, getting to do whatever he wants over at Disney. Like, they really love him over there. Which, I mean, he kickstarted the MCU, so, and saved Star Wars. So, like, obviously, I don't blame them for loving him. Blueberry Muffin says, no clue what this is. That's fine. I just thought I'd bring it up because I was like, oh, this is interesting. Now, we're going to talk about the Tiana series because they did just cancel the Tiana series, but it's part of a larger thing that they're doing right now. And this is part of these changes that I was talking about earlier. So Walt Disney Animation will no longer be developing any original long-form content for Disney+. Now, I actually tweeted that I think this is a good idea because I don't think the Disney Plus strategy of, like, making these weird, awkward spin-offs of their more popular movies is working. I've actually tried to watch Zootopia and I couldn't even finish it because it just felt too, A, kiddie, and B, like, pointless. It didn't even have, like, the main characters in it. Judy Hopps was not in it. Nick Wilde was not in it. It was literally just, like, the background characters in Zootopia. They had, like, little shorts. And I was just like, this feels pointless. And I don't think anyone watched it. And then even the Frozen Olaf spinoff, people hated that apparently, and that didn't really do well. I also tried to watch the Baymax show. Again, a very, like, sort of nothing series where nothing actually happens. It's just content. I even tried to watch the Monsters Inc. show. Did you guys know there was a Monsters Inc. show? I didn't even like that. So I honestly think they haven't been very successful at making any good Disney Plus shows. And I don't think people have been watching them. So I'm not surprised they're making this decision. That's why I said what I said, where I'm like, I don't think that this was working out for them. So I'm not surprised they decided to cut this, especially since Disney animation, or animation in general, is really, really expensive. I think these shows are probably too expensive for the return they're getting on them. And like I said, again, they're not even that good, at least the ones that I've seen so far. But the one that people were very upset about that got cut was the Tiana animated series, which was in the middle of production. So this was supposed to be a 2D, at least 2D looking animated Disney Plus series starring Tiana. And a lot of people were excited for it. And I was actually looking forward to it, just because we haven't seen Tiana in a while and I was curious to see, like, what she's up to. However, as I tweeted, I think it was always kind of insulting to put these Disney Plus, these Disney princesses on Disney Plus in the first place. Like, look at what happened with Moana. They turned that into a movie and it made $1 billion. Why would you Disney Plus your princess characters? I feel like that's cheapening the value of the Disney Princess brand to put Disney princesses in a Disney Plus series. I would much rather either a sequel to Princess and the Frog or a live action adaptation than a Disney Plus series, frankly. Honestly, that's how I feel. And it seems like they're still doing something with Tiana, so apparently a short form special based on the Princess and the Frog is in the works at Disney. It's going to be separate from the Tiana series, so they're not getting a series, but they are still getting a special. And I feel like I don't even want this. Just give me a theatrically released sequel or a live action movie. I really feel like Disney Plus has been a problem for a lot of Disney brands, Marvel being one of them that we've talked about a lot. But I think also for Disney Animation, because anytime you put something on streaming, it automatically seems cheaper than something that goes to theaters. So I think this just, not only does this cheapen the brand of Princess and the Frog, but I do think it cheapens the Disney Princess brand in general. You shouldn't Disney Plus your key characters like that. And I thought they learned that lesson when Moana made $1 billion when that was supposed to be a Disney Plus series. But I guess not. So I am frustrated by this because it does feel like, why this one? You made Moana into a movie. Why can't you do the same with the Tiana series? I feel like that would have done better than just scrapping it. But on the other hand, like I also don't think any of this stuff should have been on Disney Plus in the first place. So I just feel like if they're going to do something with Princess and the Frog, it should be something theatrical. So this special that they're doing, I don't understand. I feel like they're only doing that just because they turned Splash Mountain into Tiana's Bayou. And they're just doing that to keep the ride relevant. Because why would you do a special over a series? You're just getting less time with the character now. So I don't know. I feel like this is disrespectful towards Tiana and Princess and the Frog and the Princess brand in general. So I don't really like this. I really wish that they'd just keep this theatrical and they would do something theatrical with it, like what they did with Moana 2. That's where I'm at with this. Well, what do you guys feel about this? Were you looking forward to the Tiana series? Are you upset about this? What are your thoughts? Yes, if they do a sequel, it has to be 2D. I agree. Prototype says they still have the Disney Channel, right? Yes, they do, but they've been trying to put a lot of their new Disney Channel shows on Disney Plus. Denisha says, I never understood why Disney made Tiana a Disney Plus show. I didn't either. She's a main Disney princess and that has her own ride at Disneyland. She does not need a cheap Disney Plus show. Exactly. That's what I've been saying. I never understood why she was getting a Disney Plus show to begin with. She's obviously a theatrical girly. So the fact that they're still doing this special, I just feel like it's insulting. Like, I feel like cancel that too. Just give us a sequel or a live action remake like you do everything else. The fact that they're like, to me, this just screams like they don't have a lot of faith in this brand and they don't think that it would do well in theaters. And I think they're actually very mistaken about that. I think they're leaving money on the table by not doing that. JCB says an original Disney show would be nice, but both sequel and live action is way too much. It's getting older lately. I'm not saying do both. I'm saying doing one or the other. The Rapunzel Disney show is pretty good, but that was a Disney Channel series, not a Disney Plus series. I low-key think Disney Channel makes some better shows than Disney Plus sometimes. But Disney Plus I don't know what they do with those shows on Disney Plus. Like, why are so many of them so bad? Like, what is happening there? Yeah, exactly, Evil Connor. A special is even less special. Like, I'd rather just keep the series. I don't even want the series. So, I don't know. I kind of disagree with all the decisions being made here. Potato Girl says, it's insulting and she never got the love she deserved. Yeah, it is insulting. I would agree. Although I will say, because this is, if you just want to, like, go back into the past here, when Princess and the Frog first came out, my mom actually didn't allow me to see that movie when it was in theaters. So I never saw it in theaters. I saw it first years later. And the reason I wasn't allowed to see it was because of the voodoo stuff. I think Disney did not understand how much black people do not fuck with voodoo. Like we don't do it. Like it's like extremely taboo within our community. Like literally I was not allowed to see it as a kid because of the voodoo stuff. So I really feel like they need to try another black princess again. Just don't add voodoo. Don't do it. I really feel like that's part of why the movie didn't do as well as it could have, because even black people didn't want to support this movie when it came out because of that. And I feel like if they had just done some research into the community they were trying to represent, they would have known that. But this was like 2008, 2009, so they were not doing that. So I do think that's part of why this franchise never got to be as big as it could have been, because of the voodoo element. I want another black princess, but I want one that's like black people are actually going to want to see too, because that was a huge issue with the movie when it came out. Dylan says, well, voodoo and hoodoo is a part of black culture history. True, but like it's not something that like we like. It's a huge issue. I would love if they retold some African stories. I feel like they've been trying to do that, but again, they've just been Disney Plusing it. And I feel like you gotta, I would love like another Disney princess story, but like from an African fairy tale or something. That's what I would like. I feel like that would do a lot better and be a lot better received by actual black people. But yeah. But anyway, that's how I feel about that. So let's talk about Snape. From one black issue to the other. So, oh boy. I feel like this Harry Potter series, is gearing up to be one of the most contentious, controversial, and talked about series of all time. I truly believe that's what's going to happen up until the show actually airs, even during when it airs. And here's why. Number one, Harry Potter is a multi-generational beloved franchise. Even with everything, all of its controversies with J.K. Rowling and everything, it still remains an extremely popular franchise. Again, I was just in Universal for Christmas. Harry Potter World was packed. People were wearing robes, buying wands, buying butterbeer. The franchise is alive and well. The video game that just came out a few years ago was one of the most successful video games for that studio ever. In fact, I think it was the number one most successful. And I played the game. The game was really fun. So you have a franchise that's beloved by millions around the world who have a very specific view of how Harry Potter should look, because it's looked a certain way now for over 20 years, 25 years, in fact. And you have the books, which millions of people have read. I've read all the books multiple times. And the characters are described as a certain way in the books. So you're taking a beloved franchise that everyone is very familiar with. Even if you haven't seen Harry Potter, you know who Snape is. You know what he looks like, at least. And you're going to do a reboot of that, which is already going to be hard, because whoever was going to be cast to be the new Severus Snape was always going to suffer comparisons to Alan Rickman because his performance was so iconic as the character. So whoever was going to fill this role was already going to be controversial, just because these are very beloved characters that we're talking about here. And then to race swap the role on top of that is like setting this man up for failure. Maybe he won't fail. Maybe he'll be so amazing that people will be able to look past the fact that he does not look like the Snape that people have come to know and love for like 30 plus years. But I think that is such an unfair task, an unfair ask of any actor, that if they're going to do this, then they better at least be prepared to defend their choices and defend their actors publicly. Because if they don't, they never should have race swapped the character in the first place. And on top of that, I also feel like race swapping this character in particular doesn't even go with the story and makes certain characters look even worse. Like, for example, James Potter. If you know Harry Potter, Severus's whole like backstory and reason for hating Harry is that he was bullied relentlessly by his father in school. And in the movies, they show a few flashbacks of that. Do you guys remember the scene where Harry's dad hangs Snape from a tree? Now imagine that's a black boy. That immediately changes the context of the scene and what it looks like it's happening. It changes from James is just kind of being a jerk bully to he's like a racist Nazi. Like, it does not fit. It does not make sense within the context of the roles of these characters and where they fit in the story, and it changes the context of Severus's entire backstory. I would not have race swapped this character. If you were going to race swap characters, Snape was like the one character I would have said, don't do it. Like, I think there have been other roles. Like, I think Dumbledore could have been a better race swap than Snape. I think Snape specifically is like the worst character to race swap because of his backstory and just generally his whole personality is supposed to be like the pale-faced sort of skulky guy. Like, that's what Snape is supposed to be. And now he looks like this. I feel like it's like what I just said earlier with Bond being a woman and how, like, making Bond a woman fundamentally changes the character. I honestly do think making Snape black does change the character. And I think a character that's so iconic and beloved as Snape, you're obviously going to piss a lot of people off. So like I said, if they're serious about this and he really is locked into the role, they better be prepared to openly defend him and their decisions. Because if they do like what Star Wars did with like Finn and some of their other characters, where they just kind of like let them, be exposed to whatever and just like didn't defend them at all, then you might as well have never made this decision, because you're not helping anyone. You're not helping black people. You're not helping the black community or whatever. You're not helping representation. You're just setting this man up for a lot of scrutiny. And I have a huge problem with that. So I would have rather Snape have been a pasty white man. Because that's how he's described. That's how he's always been. That's how he acts, even in the book and in the movies. I think making him a black man does change him as a character. So I don't support this. I wish that they had just stuck closer to the books. And I don't know this actor, to be fair. He could be an amazing actor. I've never seen him in anything before. But even if he's an amazing actor, he's still going to get criticism. And I just wish that they had not done this, personally. That's my take on this. But what are your thoughts on this? Be honest. Check Santos says, I don't know why they think these changes are good. Also, why isn't Dumbledore being played by a British person? I don't know. All these characters should be British. All these actors should be British. This is like, again, it's like if they made Bond an American, then you're basically Mission Impossible. It's fundamentally different. These people have to be British. I feel like if you change too much about what these characters are supposed to look like and what they're supposed to be, then you're changing fundamentally the whole story. And for people, I've seen some people being like, oh, I bet J.K. Rowling's against this. No, she's not. I think people forget just because, like, she has certain trans views people disagree with. She's actually still a liberal. Like, before she got on this trans kick, she was, like, retroactively race swapping a lot of characters and, like, changing a lot of stuff about the canon before, she switched gears and started talking about that stuff. she supports this. Remember, she's the one that said Hermione was actually black. You remember that? So, like, no, this isn't something that J.K. Rowling's going to have a problem with. She probably does support this because she's actually a liberal. So, I don't know. I feel like this show is going to be super contentious. And if they actually do cast Hermione as a black girl, which this casting is making me think they're definitely going to do, I really, really, really hope that they are prepared to protect that little girl. And they do what they did with the original kids when they cast the original kids. If you guys don't know this, Christopher Columbus, who was the director on the first Harry Potter movie, when he casted Harry, Ron, and Hermione, he said he wasn't just casting the kids, he was also casting their parents. Because he wanted to make sure that those kids had strong familial units because they knew those kids were about to go through a lot. So he was making sure those kids had strong, like, parental units. He wasn't just casting the kids, he was casting the whole family. Which is why I think those actors ended up actually pretty good for being child stars. I really hope they're doing the same thing with this show. And, like, they're casting kids who have, like, strong family units to support them. Especially if they cast Hermione as a black girl. Because she is going to get tons of hate automatically, which is why I don't want them to do it, because I don't want any black girl to go through that. But this casting is telling me that's exactly what they're going to do. And I'm just like, if you're going to do this, be prepared to defend your decisions, because if you're not, then you shouldn't have done it in the first place. So that I'm really worried about the kids. That's honestly, I'm really worried about the kids. I mean, the amount of hate that he's already getting for Snape. The kids, I'm worried about the kids. That's what I'm concerned about. They have to be British though. If they make them American, oh God, I was actually looking forward to this show. As I've been saying, I was actually looking forward to this show because I have read the books, and the movies do cut out a lot from the books, like especially the later books. So I was thinking, oh wow, we're gonna get to know more detail from the books. Like we're gonna find like the actual like Owl Rebellion and like the not the Owl Rebellion, the Elf Rebellion and like all of that stuff. Like we're gonna get into the weeds, the details, the stuff that they cut from the movies. I was excited about it. Again, I have a Harry Potter tattoo. I am a Harry Potter nerd. For my 18th birthday, I asked for a Harry Potter tattoo. Like, my brain is used. I love this series. I love this franchise. And I'm a black girl, okay? I have never felt like I needed to have more representation to love this series. So this isn't for me. This is it. Hopefully it's because they just feel like he's really that good in the role, or else this is just virtue signaling that will actually do nothing but hurt the community, which is why I'm against this casting. Jal Pedro says, I wonder where they're going to film the series too. Could it be in the same place for the movies? That's the other thing I don't understand. You already have the theme parks, which are based on the aesthetic that the movies set, right? But if you make a series with a new Hogwarts, a new Diagon Alley, a new Hogsmeade, how are you going to, or even a new Order of the Phoenix, like a new Ministry of Magic, the new Ministry of Magic, because the new epic universe that they're building in Universal next year has a Ministry of Magic in it. All of that is based on the aesthetic that they established in the movies. But if this show makes Diagon Alley look different, makes Hogwarts look different, makes the Ministry of Magic look different, you're now going to have the theme parks aren't going to match anymore. So that also confuses me. And all the merchandise is also heavily based on the stuff that you see in the movies. So is all the merchandise in the theme parks going to change, or are they just always going to be based off the older movies? I don't know. I'm really confused by this. Du Bois says Harry Potter reaches tons of different demographics. My friend group back then was all super diverse, and they all loved Harry Potter. The only the only one who didn't was the white dude in the group. Yeah, Harry Potter has is like one of the most translated book series of all time because so many people of all backgrounds have loved this series. They didn't need to add fake representation to make us feel better or feel seen or like this series. We already liked the series as is. So that's why I'm against this, because it just seems like they're just doing it to virtue signal. And what's happened to other like actors in a similar position, like in Star Wars, for example, is going to happen here, where they're just going to get nothing but hate, and the studio's going to set them up to fail, and in the end, we'll be worse off than where we started. That's what's going to happen. I mean, I hope not. I hope he blows everyone away and like shuts everyone up. But the fact that the expectation has to be that high is just unfair. Um, Hogwarts Legacy is a great game. They should have done an adaptation of Hogwarts Legacy. That would have been amazing. That's what I honestly wish they had done. Because that had its own story and it was really good. And there were more diverse characters in that story if you really wanted it. Nicholas says there aren't people who look like me in HP, but I feel represented by Ravenclaw. Same! That's a great point, Nicholas. Thank you so much for saying that. I've always been a Ravenclaw. I've been a Ravenclaw since I was a kid. Always, associated with Ravenclaw. And you know who I saw myself in? I don't know if you guys might laugh at this. Luna Lovegood. I always related to Luna. Not because she was white, but because she was quirky and an oddball. And I was a quirky oddball growing up. Not that that's surprising. I related to Luna, and I liked that there was an entire house about that surrounded being a nerd and being interested in learning, because that was me. So that was my representation. Like, I was just happy that there was an entire house full of people like me. Like, that's what I cared about. But anyway. Angel says, why do they think people can't do people of different skin tones? I don't know what you're saying, Angel. Rob says, I think people will get over it in a little while, like always. Oh, I think you're underestimating the level of much people love Harry Potter. I think this will be contentious and debated up until its actual release day. Just like the video game was contentious and debated up until its actual release day. Toodalus Gay says, if this news stays the same with Warner Brothers HBO officially announced the cast, then I won't be watching because I now can't trust them to be faithful to the books. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna do a series, you might as well be faithful to the books. Like, what's the point of doing this all over again if you're not going to be more faithful? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I thought the casting for Dumbledore was actually with John Lithgow. I thought that was really good casting for Dumbledore. And I was like, oh, this is off to a strong start. But yeah. Anyway. Oh, speaking of other casting, there is another casting. So we have Janet McTeer for Professor McGonagall. I'm not familiar with this actress. I haven't seen her in anything. She kind of looks like Professor McGonagall. I do like, though, that she looks at least a little bit younger so that she can age with the role. Something that I did have a problem with John Lithgow is that he's already very old, and this series is going to take a long time to finish. So I hope he's there by the end. I mean, we already had to recast Dumbledore in the movies. I don't want to have to do that again in the series, but we'll see. I do think that she's young enough that I can see her, like, aging with the series, though, which is good. So this is another casting that they've made. They've been starting with the adults, which I think is smart, because, again, I'm worried about the kids. I'm deeply worried about the kids. I hope they're doing what Christopher Columbus did, and they're casting them with their parents, because I think that was so key to the success of that series. I really do. I think that was so smart. But we'll see. How do you feel about this casting here? Evil Connor. RDJ is not playing Ron. You're so funny. Oh, she's an Ozark. Okay, okay. I haven't seen all of Ozark. Oh, Prototype says she doesn't look old enough. I think she looks oldish, but not too old that, like, she won't be, like, not with us by the end. I'm sorry, I'm just thinking of Dumbledore and how I'm already nervous about that one. Rob says, do you think if they cast everyone else well, it will temper the Snape issue a bit? Depends on who else they cast. Because I think there are other castings where if they continue doing race swaps, people will be even more upset. Like Hermione, who I think is a guarantee at this point. Yeah, Evil Connor, oldish. Okay, no strong opinions about this one, I see. That's fine. But anyway, that is my opinion on this casting here. I really do think that his whole Snape's backstory is going to be really awkward now. I really do. But yeah. Any final thoughts on this before I move on? We're almost done, I promise. Yeah, Ethereal Dragon, that's true. I think makeup will definitely make her look older. That's true. She does look kind of young. Yeah. How old was Maggie Smith in the first Harry Potter movie? Now I want to look that up. Hold on. Maggie Smith, Harry Potter 1. Age. She was 67. She was 67. Wow. Okay. Now I'm going to look up Janet McTeeter's age. Janet McTeer. I said McTeeter. I'm sorry. McTeer. She's 63. She's a young-looking 63. She's only 4 years younger than Maggie Smith was in the first Harry Potter movie. And they're not filming until, like, at least next year. So, actually, she's around the same age. Which is shocking. What is her moisturizer routine? I would like to know. She's 63. She's only 4 years younger than Maggie Smith was. Shocking. Okay. Well, now she's definitely not too young. I think she's perfect age. You guys are just as shocked as I am. Plastic surgery, maybe that's it. Yeah. You guys are all saying wow. You guys are funny. But yeah, anyway, I guess she is the right age. So, I think I have one more thing. Oh yeah, there's this Monopoly announcement. I think I already talked about this kind of. Margot Robbie is producing it. It's the team from Dungeons and Dragons. They're going to be writing the script. I think this could be interesting. I think enough people know Monopoly and are familiar with it that I think this could do really well. Yeah, I think a Monopoly movie done right could actually do really well. So I'm not surprised by this. I think Margot Robbie's a really smart producer. I think she has her finger on the pulse on what can be a hit. And I think this done well could be another hit. So I'm really happy for her. Happy that she's continuing to make smart business decisions. But yeah. All right, is anyone interested in a Monopoly movie from the team behind Dungeons and Dragons? Anyone? Bueller? You're getting Battleship War flashbacks. I did not see Battleship, but I heard it was bad. I think Jack Black is a bit overexposed. He should definitely stay away from this. Especially after Minecraft, which is looking worse and worse by the day, to be honest. Will says, who wants this? No. Oh, I was expecting more interest. You guys do not seem interested. Astronomy says it sounds good. Okay. How do you make a movie about Monopoly? Well, I'm assuming you'll just have like someone who like starts off poor but then starts buying a bunch of stuff and becomes rich. It's probably going to be some sort of rags to riches story. That's what I would do. Um I mean, the D&D movie was kind of good. I didn't like it as much as some other people did, but like I didn't think it was terrible. So, I don't think this is a bad duo to make this movie. I think it could be good. I'm just more happy that Margot Robbie continues to make smart decisions because I do think this is a good decision. But anyway, that was my last thing that I had to talk about. I believe. What was it? Oh, right. There's also the trailer for The Last of Us Season 2, which we'll see how this does. I kind of feel like the interest in this has waned, probably because a lot of fans didn't like the second video game, which is this is entirely based on. So I'm really curious to see how much they change, because they're obviously going to have to change a lot, because Pedro Pascal is in this too much. Um, Really curious to see what they do with the story here, and if it's as much of a big hit as the first season was. Because again, I'm just feeling like the hype is not there this time. But I don't know. Are you guys still interested in The Last of Us Season 2? Are you going to watch the next season? Are you into this still at all? Yeah, I'm very curious to see what they're going to do with Joel for sure. Oh, Angel Barrera, thank you so much for the super chat. I'm picturing the Barbie movie, but with capitalism. Oh, for Monopoly? Definitely. I think that's essentially what they're going to do, which is why I think it's a good idea. Or are you saying that there's going to be like a little Monopoly world where like there's like a Monopoly man? I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, but I think there's a lot of ways that they could go with the story and actually be good. You know what board game turned movie I would actually want to see? Life. That was one of my favorite board games as a kid. Did you guys ever play the game of Life? I would love to see that actually. I think that could actually be like a really strong movie, in fact. Rob, you're salivating for the reaction to season 2? You just here for the drama, Rob. You just love the drama. Potato Girl says he thought the first season was overrated. I thought the first season had some really strong episodes, but overall, like it was, yeah, not my favorite show. But like I do think it has some really strong writing. Like the episode with the two guys and the strawberries. Oh, that was beautiful. That was great. Loved that episode. But overall, I just thought the game was more entertaining than the show was. Because I did play the game right before I watched the show, in fact. And I just thought the game was better. Oh, Candyland would be interesting. Yeah. Anyway, that's it for today. That's all. Thank you so much for being here. I did warn y'all this was going to be a long stream. And it was a very long stream. So thank you so much for sticking with me this entire time. This has been great. Like I said, next Sunday is actually my last final show, so I know I'm not going to be available. So I'll probably be available either next Monday or Tuesday. So just follow me on Twitter and look at the community page so you know when my next stream is going to be. And yeah, thank you so much for a great show. This was really, really fun. Thank you guys. I'll see you next week.